Hello everyone, Owen from Evenstar. Hope you've all had a great day. Thank you for joining me this evening. We are going to talk about emotional flow for well-being. So really what we're talking about today is everything about our second chakra, which is also called our sacral chakra. And this is the one that is right low down on your abdomen, just a few centimeters above your pubic bone. Just remember that our chakras, our energy centers, do go at the front and the back of the body. So it's not just on the front of the body. That energy center flows through to the back as well. I'm not going to go through what chakras are tonight, because I think probably everybody who's tuning in will know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, then please go and check out some other stuff on my website. Just do a search for chakras and lots of information will come up. So what we are talking about with this is all about our emotions, our partnerships that we form with other people. So this energetic center is really about our close relationships, where we form a really intimate relationship with a friend, with family members, obviously with partners, but where it's, you know, not just a part of being a part of a tribe or a community, which is what we talked about last week with the first chakra. So this is really those close partnership type relationships, and also creativity. So this area, this energetic center, really governs and is influenced by our creativity and how we are able to express ourselves creatively and how we think about ourselves in terms of creativity. So first of all, I guess the main thing is, or not the main, the most obvious one to talk about is emotions. So how emotional are you? Now, what I'm going to talk about when I'm going through all of this is all about how you can determine whether potentially you have an imbalance in that energy center. When we're talking about imbalance, look, we are influenced by so many different things all the time, and it's very difficult, especially in modern Western life, to maintain balance in our chakras all the time. But I guess what we have to work towards is to try and do all the things that we can do to have as much balance as much of the time as we can. So we can't go and sit on a mountaintop in a purple flowing robe and have no interference from anything, from all the environmental toxins, from other people, from any other influence, food we're eating, anything, the weather around us, everything can influence our energy centers and how they are acting and how balanced they are. So I don't want anybody to get really overly concerned if you think, oh my goodness, I can relate to all those things she's talking about, and I'm going to be doing one of these for each of the 7 chakras. So if you missed my live last week on the first chakra, so I called that the root of all well-being, so that's about our root or first chakra, then please check that out. But there are just so many common things, so don't get a fright, and just know that I'm going to give you some information about what you can do to balance each of these energy centers out. And definitely, obviously, if you want more detailed information about anything, then get in touch with me. So firstly, let's talk about emotions. So are you somebody who is very emotional, who maybe your friends and family talk about you as being the drama queen? Everything is always, you know, so amazing or so awful or so funny, even whatever it is that you know, anything to do with emotion is always really highlighted and really intense for you. Or on the other hand, so again, with all of these examples, I'm talking about either end of the far ends of the spectrum, and what we want to be is somewhere in the middle as much as possible. So the other end of the spectrum of the emotionality scale is somebody who finds it very difficult to express emotion, and people who don't know you terribly well, so maybe colleagues or just people that you share a classroom with but you're not really close friends with, might not recognize this in you, but people who do know you more intimately will know that you don't express emotion very easily. So if you also, the other thing is, if you are someone who tends to feel quite confused about how you feel, you're not sure how you feel about things, then that can indicate an imbalance in this chakra as well. So second thing is chaos or control. So we're talking about flow here. So flow is the key word with the second chakra. And are you someone who likes to kind of go with the flow? Do you like to have a lot of control, or do you like to let things flow? Do you like to embrace chaos in your life? So we kind of all need a little bit of chaos. So some people, so on that one end of the spectrum, if you you like everything to be really structured, really rigid, you don't like to bend the rules, you don't like to change your plans, then that can indicate that level of imbalance. And then on the other hand, if you find it impossible to stick with timetables, you're never on time, you're always running late, you just don't like to be dictated to about how to manage time and how to do things, then potentially that's that other end of the scale, and also indicating imbalance. So we like to have a little bit of chaos, because that allows creativity. So we're talking about flow in terms of, if you like to visualize a stream or a river running, we need to, that water flow needs to be able to move. It needs to be able to get around the rocks that life throws into that stream. And we need to be able to have some flexibility and to embrace our creativity with that as well. If we're not, then what happens to the water? If we picture water again, we're picturing stagnation. It's not able to flow. Okay, so yeah, creativity. So this chakra governs our creative juices. We want to use all those lovely watery, juicy words. So to detect imbalance again in terms of creativity, do you always have an absolute proliferation of ideas? You're constantly thinking up new things, but potentially you can't carry them through to fruition. You can't bring them into the physical plane, but you're constantly thinking of new and better ways to do things, or different ways to do things. And you might, on the other hand, at the other end of the spectrum, you might just think, well, creativity, thinking of yourself as an artist is just nothing that you'd ever apply to yourself. You don't think of creativity as being something that you can relate to. So again, if that's something totally foreign to you, then that might indicate imbalance. So a level of nice balance might be, you really appreciate the arts, you really appreciate creativity in other people, you like to have ideas occasionally, and you tend to carry them through to fruition, rather than just having that abundance of ideas that you can never bring through to life. Orange is the colour for this energy centre. So again, a really good indicator is if you have a strong feeling about the colour orange. Now, personally, I do not like orange, and I'm really trying to embrace it. So orange is the vibration of this chakra. So anything to do with orange is going to have an influence and help to balance out this chakra. But again, if you love orange and you have everything orange around you, then that can indicate an imbalance. It's a bit overactive potentially. So just keep that in mind as an easy indicator. So then the next point that I mentioned before is about, oh great, Caitlin's just said she's loving orange at the moment. Good for you. Beautiful, balanced second chakra. And yeah, so who's on the life raft with you is my next point. So that thing about the partnerships. Do you find it easy to set up new friendships, to form strong relationships with other people? Or at the other end of the spectrum, do you find that difficult? Do you feel really awkward? Do you actually prefer to spend more time on your own rather than being with other people? So either of those, again, can indicate imbalance in the energy flow in that second chakra. Now, eating, let's talk about food a little bit. So emotional eating is a really good indicator of imbalance here. So perhaps you like to eat when you're experiencing a strong emotion. On the other hand, perhaps you find yourself eating all the time when you are bored or you're feeling numb. So that kind of thing of, I don't know how I feel. So if emotion really has an impact on how and what and when you're eating, then that can be an indication of some imbalance here. If you consume in excess things like salty snacks, if you're always thirsty and you're drinking heaps and heaps of water, so the element for the second chakra is water, so we're going to talk a bit more about water, but anything to do with water. So again, we want to have a good healthy intake of water, but if you're always thirsty, you're always wanting to drink water, if you have a lot of fat and oil in your diet, or you're obsessed with seafood and just can't get enough of that, again, those things can indicate an imbalance as well. So talking about water, then let's talk about some of the physical symptoms of, I guess, well-being issues that can come out when you've got an imbalance in this area. So water retention is an obvious one. So if you tend to be somebody who suffers from edema, from swelling in parts of your body through water retention, if you sweat profusely, or on the other hand, again, if you never sweat, you're one of those people who just doesn't sweat even if you're doing a massively hard workout. It's hard for you to break out into a sweat. Inflammation is also, now we spoke about that last week as well, so first and second chakra can come into play. They all flow into each other. So inflammation can occur when there's not enough water. There's not that cooling element of water, so that can be an indicator as well. Then the bodily systems that are impacted in this area, so the urinary system, so if you're constantly getting UTIs or you have other issues in that area, the prostate, the reproductive system, blood pressure problems. So again, that blood pressure is massively impacted by water. So if you have very low blood pressure or very high blood pressure, that can be influenced by this second chakra. And then elimination. So if you suffer from frequent or constant diarrhea or constipation, now again, we spoke about constipation again with the root chakra, but in this area, if you have any kind of problems with elimination on a regular basis, or very dry skin can be a real indicator of problems with this chakra as well. So if you want any more information about any of them, let me know. So then let's talk about what we can do to balance. So number one thing is food. So I'm using my Evenstar 5-star wellbeing approach. So that is food, movement, sleep, being, and surroundings that we're going to talk about. So food, first of all. So fat is really important. So in the 90s, we had this terrible craze of low fat, and I think we've moved on from that now. It is very important. It's absolutely vital for your body to have good quality fat, because your cells actually can't function as they're meant to function if you don't have fat in your diet. Your cell membranes need to be formed by the fatty acids that our body cannot produce. So we must consume good quality fat. So try and get fat from both plant and animal sources. If you don't eat animals, then you can certainly source all the beautiful omega-3s and omega-6s that you need, and other fatty acids from plant sources. So olive oil, flaxseed oil, fish oils are really good. So eating lots of things like salmon, nuts and seeds, and leafy green vegetables is where we get some amazing fats from as well. Making sure that you're avoiding the kind of fast foods fats, the vegetable oils, that there are so many problems with. So we want good quality fats. I'm not telling you to go out and binge on KFC. Please, please never eat that stuff. Sea animals and plants, really important for the second chakra. So if there's something that you never ever eat, then maybe it's time to bring a little bit of that into your diet. High fiber is really important, because we're talking, as I mentioned before, about our elimination system. So we need to have both soluble and insoluble fiber in our diet in order for that process to function correctly. So if you're eating a good variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, then you should be getting a good balance of that insoluble and soluble fiber. Again, if you want more information, then please let me know. Orange coloured foods. So because we're talking about orange, then if you make sure that you have, now I'll always say getting a rainbow of foods is the best approach. So, but in particular, if you're thinking to yourself, yeah, it sounds like me, like I might have a bit of an imbalance in this, then bringing more orange coloured foods into your diet is going to help. So there's the veggies like carrots, pumpkin, sweet potato, lots of fruit, so cantaloupe, and tropical fruits. So tropical fruits tend to have a lot of water content, so they're beautiful for this second chakra. So mango is coming in here in Australia, so that's beautiful at the moment. Papaya. So try and have 5 to 7 servings of those orange foods a week minimum. Water, again, very important to get an adequate quantity. You can Google. Now, I know the common knowledge is 2 to 3 litres a day, but that's very variable depending upon your activity and also your body type and size, of course. So please have a Google as to how much water you personally should be drinking. And also please make sure your water is filtered and plastic free. That's the ideal kind of water that we should all be drinking. And this chakra is all about joy and gratitude as well. So preparing food with those emotions is a really lovely way to balance out there. Movement, so obviously moving, exercising and water if you enjoy that, and making sure that you're doing exercise or any kind of movement that activates your pelvic area, your hips and pelvis. So dancing, yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi. There's plenty of others that I'm sure you can think about. And sweating. So if you are one of those people that doesn't sweat easily, then maybe put an extra layer on and try and really get yourself to sweat, because it's a beautiful way to detox the system. You really do want to sweat occasionally, or maybe go in a sauna. So that's another watery activity that you can do. Sleep, definitely prioritising sleep always. And this is a really lovely way to explore your creativity. So our dreams allow us to be creative and your mind to rest and relax. So please prioritise sleep as well. Surroundings, so being near water is going to really help with balancing this, and also the moon. The moon controls the flow of water, the tides, and has a big influence on our body. So if the moon is out and full, then get out in that moonlight. But otherwise, be near water, flowing, moving water as much as possible. Get into water. So apart from the actual movement side, you could just go for a float. You could go for a surf, get into some hot springs, get into a sauna, enjoying baths and showers, being mindful about when you step into that beautiful running shower or you make yourself a bath before you're going to bed, then really experiencing every sensation in that atmosphere. You can use crystals and essential oils. There's information on this on my in my 7 chakra ebook. So if you would like to get a copy of that, you can just sign up for my mailing list on my website and you get your copy of that completely free with lots of suggestions for specific crystals and essential oils. Keep in mind the colour orange again. So any orange coloured crystals are probably going to help that chakra. Oils, so the actual orange oil or orangey coloured oils, frankincense is going to help as well. So just bear that in mind. Okay, then my fifth aspect of 5-star wellbeing is what I call being. So meditation, really good. So maybe look up some guided visualizations on emotional expression, and listening to water-based relaxation music. I always find that beautiful all the time, but maybe do a search for that when you're wanting to put something on to calm yourself down or just to get into your Zen state. Affirmations, so some affirmations, you could use again on my chakra tip sheet, or I can give you some if you want to just let me know you want some. An emotion log. So if you are someone who is overly emotional or you struggle to express emotion, it might be a really good idea to make a record of what emotions you're experiencing every day. I've got a great little template for that. It's a great little activity to do before you go to bed at night. You just tick the box. It's really quick and easy, and then it's great to look back on and reflect on the patterns of what are the emotions that you never are experiencing, what are you experiencing all the time, what should you perhaps work on. And of course we can always then work on specific emotions with various techniques that I can help you with. Again, Crying is something I really wanted to bring up. Crying is actually scientifically proven to be an anti-inflammatory activity. So please let yourself cry. If you struggle to cry, then maybe put on a sad movie or something that's really emotional to watch in your downtime and let those tears flow. It's actually really important, and something that probably a lot of people, especially males, don't do enough of. So I'm giving you permission to cry. Please do that. And it's something I've struggled with myself as well in the last couple of years, and I'm really trying to let that flow at the moment. So highly recommend. And ideas, again, so if you are one of these people who's constantly thinking up new things, perhaps keep an ideas journal. Write your ideas down so that you can go back to them and you can bring them into fruition. Perhaps prioritize a bit more. What idea am I going to actually see all the way through to kind of reduce that overemphasis on ideas and that overactivity in this chakral area. Obviously, energy healing is going to be really beneficial for you for imbalance in any chakras, and most of us have some more than one chakra imbalanced at a time. So if you would like to make an appointment to do that, if you want any more information or there's anything else I can help you with, then please get in touch. I would really like to thank you all so much for joining me live or for watching the video later, and I would love to have your questions. And if there's anything you want me to cover about the third chakra, which is what we'll be doing next week, then please drop me a line. In the meantime, be well and sleep well tonight. Bye.